right, everybody good?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get started.
All right, Coach, welcome back to UCF. Long time no see. So just talk about that decision, why it was important for you to come back and return to UCF and be OC under Gus Malzahn.
The first thing is welcome back. It wasn't that long, 11 months. I didn't make a full year, but it was very important to me. I really believe in, just being able to elevate in your career when you get an opportunity to be an offensive coordinator, and being an offensive coordinator for a head coach that's had so much success in that role as well. Like, it was very important to me to be with someone like that. I want to do a great job. I want to learn, continue to develop, and there's no other way of being under a coach that can help you through the process of doing the job. So very excited to be back here. It's a lot easier coming back to a place that you adjust at. So the adjustment period has been smooth as it can be. But I'm very excited to be back working with Coach Malzahn.
Tim, how were those discussions like with Gus? Because Gus had at that point thought he was going to come back and do play calling, was basically the main play calling guy. What were those discussions like, and how do you kind of envision your role with him when it comes to running the offense?
It'll be a collaborative effort all the way, and that was, the pre-discussions before we even got to a certain point. It was about that being a collaborative effort, me being in a position where I can really, put my hands on the offense and have, my footprint on it as well. And coaches, he knows that I believe in a lot of the same things that he do, and that's a big part of why I'm here. And and I have 100% trust in him and continue to develop me as a coach too. So we're gonna collaborate on this thing, myself and all of our offensive staff really as a whole. All those guys I've worked with at some point. The staff really hasn't changed since I left. So it's good having good relationships and healthy relationships in there where we all gonna do this thing together.
Coach, going back to 2017, maybe depending on who you ask, the running back position in particular has always been one that's strong with your OC. Now, obviously, you've been part of the group that's kind of continued that tradition of solid running back play. It's one thing to have it for 1 year. What's been working at the program to keep that position as strong as it's been?
I think I had those guys for 2 years, and just the camaraderie that we created in that room, the culture that we created in those 2 years that I was coaching them, just understanding healthy competition amongst themselves. We have a lot of really competitive guys in there, and we had some older guys that have now moved on, and those guys that were younger when I first got here are now our experienced guys, and that really hasn't dropped off. That culture hasn't changed. Cam Martin done a great job coaching those guys, and Cam was with me my first year here coaching the group, so he was in the room with us, kind of just being there from the start of that thing, and he just kept it going. He's done a really good job of keeping it going, and our players in that room have done a really good job of making sure that they hold the young guys accountable who are coming in behind them.
Coach, obviously you were here before. You're in a different room now,
Yep.
coaching the wide receivers. What's it been like getting to coach them, and how have you really integrated in the room?
It's been a lot of fun. Because the good thing is, as a staff, they still see you work. Like, even when you're coaching a different position. So coming back in this room, those guys, they still know what I'm about. They know how I operate. They knew the standards that I held the running backs to when I was coaching them. And that's made it easier in this transition, because you got older guys like Kobe Hudson, who was here, and he knows how I handle business. He knows how I like things done. He knows the leadership that I wanted of a group, and he's really helped me in the room a lot. Just the young guys that I wasn't here through their recruiting process, Kobe is more so the guy, the in-between, to tell them, hey, this is how coach likes it, this is how I like to do it. And then his response to me coaching him, it's made it easier for the guys that I didn't know. But Kobe, Xavier Townsend, Jared Baker, all those guys who were here with me, we worked closely as an offensive staff before, so they were able to see me work. And getting with those guys now and being a part of their development has been so much fun. They've taken the coaching so well. They've helped me now as we're trying to build a culture in our wide receiver room, and I've just been very impressed with how we brought our young guys along.
What's your general philosophy on coaching the wide receiver position, and what's the most important thing you want to see out of that group in the spring?
We're going to play harder than everybody else. We're going to play harder than our defenders. We're going to play harder than our opponent. Our receivers, we want to make sure we catch the football. We want to be very consistent catching the ball. That's the number one job as a receiver. But more than anything is we're going to be a physical group. Sometimes guys look at the wide receiver position and you think about being finesse and all about speed. And we're going to be about those things too when we have to. But when you watch us play, what you're going to do when you watch the tape or you watch us live and say, those guys play hard. Those guys play hard. They blocking down the field. They playing without the football. And then when we have opportunities to make plays, we're gonna make them. And I've been seeing our guys, even our young guys, getting opportunities through these first 3 days and making catches that, aren't everyday regular catches. And that's what we want. We want our room to have a lot of guys that can do that. So my philosophy is about being able to catch the ball consistently, which is our number one job. But the way that we play without the football and how hard we play, it's going to be, you're going to see that every time that you watch us out there on the field.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about how you feel like your experience, bouncing around a little bit from different roles, and just being able to now kind of bring that to the wide receiver room? What do you think that impact will have on the overall, not only just team, but the receivers and the young guys' development?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is as a high school coach, I started off, I was a quarterback wide receiver guy through all my years of coaching high school. Like that's my background. I played quarterback, so quarterback and receivers was where I started. When I got into college, it was the first time me learning running back play. I really had to learn how to coach running backs, and I spent 6 years at a place, and then I came here for 2, and then last year being back in Miami coaching the backs. Like that was the job that didn't come easy to me at the start. And now being able to come back to my roots, I would say, me having been at running back, it helps me to see the picture a lot cleaner. Everything now, just me being able to help the receivers understand how it all works together. Because those guys, a lot of times, they get and they understand what happened outside. But for me, being a coach that spent the last 7 years focusing on running back and what the offensive line play looks like, and being able to tie that into them, and it can be just on simple things of when we got to speed our routes up because they understanding the pressure that defense is bringing, understanding how to see it. Because I've been in that world, so it's really good for me being able to give them big picture teaching now, and I'm trying to make sure that, and that's going to help them in the big picture down the line for whatever their long-term goals are too.
Coach, you just talk about big picture. Being an OC and a position coach to a key element of the offense, are there any advantages to that on play calling, play design, anything when you know what those guys can do?
Well, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is when you talk about that position, and out there, our guys, our receivers love it because they know when we're talking about game planning. The first thing that I'm looking at when we sitting down breaking down a team now is coverages and things that they're doing on the outside. And what we want to do now is always find the ways to get our receivers the ball. And more than anything, what we had a lot of success with, at least in the last year or so, was throwing the ball downfield. So our receivers understanding that me being such a big part in how we game plan and what we're going to do versus different opponents, and them knowing that it's going to start with how we're getting them involved, that's a really big advantage for us. And then everything else, like I said, it goes back to what I've been doing the last 7-8 years of just the box and understanding what comes with that. Because at the end of the day, it does start with being able to run the football. But our receivers it helps them knowing that their position coach is looking first in game planning at what defenses are doing out on the perimeter.
Tim, you have the unique perspective of being here and then going with and coming back. What is it about Gus that draws? He brings a lot of coaches back, you guys who he's had familiarity with before, and brings them back to his staff. What is it about him that maybe draws coaches to want to come back and think coach under him?
Oh, it's kind of hard, but no, at the same time, it's an easy question. I think Coach Malzahn, he trusts his guys, and I remember before I left, one of the things that he told me is, Tim, man, you're gonna always be one of my guys. And at that time, he tried to do everything he could for me not to go. But when I made a decision that I wanted to leave, and I had, for the different reasons, I had to make that move for myself. But Coach told me, you're one of my guys. And I knew throughout our communication throughout last season at different points in the summer, Coach would reach out to me. We always stayed in communication. So, it wasn't, out of the blue thing when he called and we talked about me coming back here, because I knew, the job that I did for him here, and he had a lot of respect for me, and he knows the respect that I have for him. I learned a lot under him. I'll be honest, when I initially came to UCF, it was to work for a coach that had a similar background to me, coming from being a high school football coach and trying to make my way into the business and working to what my long-term goals are. I've seen him do that. And I think he kind of sees the same thing in me, someone who's worked his butt off, and he knew me when I was at that level, and he see where I'm going, and he has a lot of trust in my ability to continue to grow in this profession as well. So I just think the level of trust that we have for each other is, and that's kind of with everybody that you see here with on our staff. Everyone has some kind of background with Coach, and that's just how he likes to operate. And he's had success everywhere he goes because of it.
Coach, your perspective obviously has been that the running backs work a lot with the offensive line, so of course there's a lot of chemistry there. Been a lot of transfers and a lot of quick development with the offensive line to see success last year specifically. From your perspective as the OC, what's been the key to those guys getting that chemistry quickly, and then how important is this part of the year to start to build that same chemistry?
I just say it's the coaching staff. Coach Herb Hand, who I worked very well with for 2 years. You know, he leads that group, and you know, his relationship with Coach Malzahn, having a history with him, they've been through a lot of battles together, and our offensive staff as a whole, we've at this point, we're going into year 3 of pretty much being at Cam Martin. Yeah, he just finished his first year as a running back coach here, but he played for Coach. He's been in the system. So you have a lot of guys, a lot of people involved in our offensive system that have been together for a long time. So when you have that kind of, you know, close-knit family and a coaching staff, you know, it's easy to bring our players along because you don't have a lot of outside voices. You know, we all know exactly how we want to teach things. We're all on the same page with how we want to teach things, and, you know, that makes the job so much easier.
You talked a little bit about how the running backs that were in the room, the young guys in the room when you left, are now the vets. Can you talk a little bit about R.J. Harvey and just where he's came from? I know he was the second guy when you were here, and now he's one of the better running backs in the country. Yeah,
absolutely, and that's what I started off my first comment with. I think he's one of the best running backs in the country, and I there's not a whole lot of guys out there that can do the things that he do. And one thing that I say about RJ is, you know, even when I first got him 2 years ago of getting here, it's like his work ethic is second to none. You know, he's a kid that comes to work every single day. You know, he has a smile on his face, no matter through good, through bad, and I think that's catapulted him to being where he is right now. You know, there was no doubt in my mind that at some point in his career he would be considered one of the best running backs in the country. And, you know, you watch the season that he had last year, you would never know that when you watch him in the weight room or when you watch him in our fish drills in the off season, because he works like a guy that's still trying to earn respect, and he is. You know, he see a lot of things that are written, a lot of lists that he's left off of, and he puts it into his work. So, you know, but everything that he's done, it's not a surprise to me at all, and I just look forward to him continuing to develop and having an even bigger season this year.
A few of the players have mentioned Verdell Richardson in press conferences about how he's impressed here this first week. What have you noticed? What have been your first impressions of him through the opening week of spring camp?
Super competitive, athletically mature. When you watch a young man, he comes in, he has the right mindset, and he's not backing down from competition. I mean competition in our room or competition versus our DBs. You know, he talks a lot, but he backs it up. And I love coaching Bradell. You can coach him hard. He responds to it. He knows exactly what he want to do. You know, one of those young freshmen when they come in, and everybody comes in with the attitude of, I want to play as a freshman. And then sometimes you look at them and how they operate, it don't match. With Verdell Richardson, it does. He's made some catches out there that, you know, they are hard to make, but he make them look easy. So when you got a guy that's making plays on the ball like that, it catches everyone's attention. And what we need, you know, what we're going to continue to do with him is just keep bringing him along, you know, throwing him in the fire, putting him in different uncomfortable situations to show, you know, for him to show that he's really ready to do this, you know, at a high level. But I've been very pleased with him over the first 3 days of practice, and I'm looking forward to him continue to develop and show us what he can do.
Perfect. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Coach.
All right, thank y'all.